So, welcome back to a channel update. I've been talking about this at the end of the recent videos a little bit, and I've been sort of building up to it because I've been waiting to get enough of a picture so that I can actually give some useful information. And also there are a few other things going on as well, which there's a few topics I can talk about here. So we're going to be talking about, first and foremost, the most important thing is going to be the future of the channel and how I'm going to be sort of adjusting my schedule in the longer term. Although, as I will go into throughout the video, it's actually less imminent than it would otherwise have been, thanks to the situation with the Rona. So, again, that's going to be something that we'll talk about throughout most of this video. But there's also a few other things that we can talk about as well, including the fact that streaming is something that will now be happening every now and then. Although, as we'll go into later on, it's going to be a little bit more sporadic than sort of regular, as it were. But yeah, we'll start off with the future of the channel as a whole. So, as I've kind of alluded to at the ends of the most recent videos, the term, as it is, the summer term that I'm currently technically taking part in, is almost certainly going to have most of its content pushed into the autumn term, which this isn't going to affect the people who obviously have, they're just going to be going into another year of university, but with my master's course, I was supposed to be finishing it in September. Now, based on the fact that, yes, lockdowns are being lifted, but chances are, by the time they reopen the boats and the labs for what I'm going to need to do for my dissertation work, chances are by that point there's going to be nowhere near enough time left to actually complete all of the work that needs to be done. So, therefore, it follows that I'm going to be doing essentially the bulk of the work that I would have been doing this summer instead in the autumn-winter term. So, instead of finishing in September, more than likely I'm going to be finishing sort of towards the start of February in 2021. Now, of course, this does affect the channel in the sense that I will be able to carry on as I am for a little bit longer, because more or less I'm going to be able to keep to the same schedule even throughout the autumn-winter terms while I'm doing my dissertation, because a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the sort of the really boring sort of mundane stuff that I can do without being on the boats, without collecting my data, sort of the background work as it were, I can do over the summer. So essentially it does give me twice as long to complete, or kind of twice as long to complete the same amount of work. So it does mean that I won't have to adjust my schedule too much from September through to February. So we get a little bit longer, essentially, of me able to keep up the same schedule that I currently have. So from that point of view, obviously, I suppose that's fairly good news for the channel. However, there is a certain inevitability about this, where eventually I will finish my Masters. I suppose there is the outside chance that if Wave 2 strikes, I might be delayed even longer than even February. I hope it doesn't come to that, because honestly I don't really want to be delayed by an entire year, but it's something I suppose I should at least be kind of on the lookout for. But running on the assumption now that February is when I will be finishing with my Masters, and that of course means that chances are I will be moving on to some kind of full-time employment. There is the possibility of a PhD, but I kind of feel as though that's not going to be happening in the immediate future. That's something to look out for later on. But enough of my life choices. Really the important thing here is how they affect my channel. And when it comes to February, depending on exactly the kind of employment I get, but generally speaking, the hydrography degree that I'm doing, the kind of job that I will get from it will leave me with a schedule that won't be all that dissimilar from a fellow YouTuber, Windy's schedule, in the sense that he goes out on a boat for, weeks at a time, anywhere from generally 2, possibly up to 4, 6 weeks even, if there's like a really big job that you're doing. And obviously, in those weeks, I will not be able to record anything. But you also get effectively blocks of time off in between jobs as well. So, that can be anywhere from about 2 to 4 weeks, I believe. So it's several weeks on, several weeks off. That's generally how it works. And this means I will have to bulk record, of course, when I have my weeks off, and it will also impact the amount of videos I'm able to do, because of course if I'm going off for one of the bigger jobs, like a 6-week job, possibly even longer than that, I will have to sort of take that into consideration. So when February rolls around, and hopefully I'm able to secure a good form of employment, what this will mean for the channel effectively is that the amount of videos, I've kind of worked this out, the amount of videos that I will be able to do on a regular basis will be probably 2 a week. I feel as though that's a pretty good number. Additional stuff around that could still happen, of course, which, you know, could take the form of sort of additional videos or even streams, which we'll go on to a little bit later in this update video. But I think 2 videos a week is quite reasonable. I think it's something that I could definitely do, even with a rather full schedule. The only reason that I couldn't do that would be, again, if I sort of run out of content while I'm offshore on a boat, as it were. But I would do my best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, obviously, that is less videos than I do at the moment, but it's not actually that much less, as I've worked out. Like, at the moment, I do anywhere from 3 to 4 videos a week, depending upon where the videos actually fall in my 1 video every 2 days schedule. So it's not that much of a downgrade, really, in the grand scheme of things. And in the end, it may actually prove to be beneficial as well, because it means that I'm not oversaturating with content to the extent that I have sometimes done in the past, and still kind of do, to be honest with you. I do feel as though if it wasn't something that I had to keep doing and without getting like a part-time job to go along with it, it would be the sort of thing that I would cut down on anyway, because I think, you know, quality would be more important than quantity, and that would be the thing that I would be looking at doing going forward once I have my employment. That would be what I would be focusing on a lot. So I would really be sort of a little bit more choosy with what I was doing, because obviously I'm doing less of it, so what is there, I want it to be better. But I mean, there is a lot of variability with that still, but that is what we are looking at the moment. We're looking at that happening. So obviously from a channel perspective, you won't really notice any of the upheaval that's likely to happen when I go to probably move cities even around February. I think that's probably what's on the cards based on what's available and where. This is the sort of thing that obviously on the other side of the screen you won't really notice. The only thing that you will notice is the fact that I go from 3 to 4 videos a week down to more 2 videos a week, but hopefully 2 videos a week that are of higher quality. That would be the idea. I don't know how people would think about that. Maybe that's bad news for people, and less videos is a bad thing. But I would say that there is a certain amount of inevitability about that. Like, I've been able to do it while I've been at university because it fits very nicely. It's much more comfortable than a part-time job, which most people do have alongside their university studies, and it's something that has worked out very well. However, it's not the sort of thing that I can really do as a full-time job, I think, YouTube. I mean, there is... I suppose I can never say never, like, but in the interim, if from between now and February all of a sudden everything blows up, things change, obviously, which is why I don't make concrete plans. There are so many different things that could happen, as the Rona has proven, for why you shouldn't make concrete plans and really set your heart on them. You should at least have a certain amount of flexibility. I don't believe, however, that my channel is the sort of thing that will grow to the extent that I can do it as my work. I think that I have sort of gained more than I thought I would over the course of lockdown, which has been an interesting experience, but it's not to the extent. I think that the problem is, by the time I started doing this sort of thing, I was already a little bit late to the party, and obviously I've done very well with it, to be honest with you. I think I've done far better than I expected to, considering I just was bored one summer and started doing things, and the snowball has carried on rolling until now. But I don't think that this is the sort of thing that's going to grow to the extent that would allow me to forego any other type of employment, especially considering the fact that the area that I'm likely to work in, it pays very well, to be honest with you. It's the sort of thing that you can earn a very decent living doing. And obviously these are important decisions that you make. And it's not as if the channel will go away. I'm determined to keep the channel going because it is something that I do take pride in. The fact that I've been able to grow a channel to this extent. There are so many people that never get noticed at all, and obviously it must be quite disheartening to have a channel that you want to make work but just doesn't really. And the fact that I've been able to do something on YouTube at all has been quite gratifying to me, considering everything that's gone on over the past few years. But we won't get too much into that. But yeah, that is the upshot. I mean, it's a bit of a dramatic monologue there, considering the upshot of it is really that I'm just going to have a slight decrease in videos when that comes around, which isn't the end of the world, really. I think most people will agree. And to make up for that somewhat, we have streaming. I did my first stream as of recording this video yesterday with JMonster, and not entirely sure, we might have actually had our second one by the time this channel update video releases as well. But yeah, it's the sort of thing now that I have set up and I can do as and when needed. Now, for the time being, I think streaming over the course of the next month and a half is just going to take the form of every now and then there'll be like an impromptu stream that I will post up messages on YouTube as to sort of when I'm going to be streaming, when I sort of set that up. So I will be posting up a message a couple of days before the next stream that we hope to do, to sort of let people know. But it's not going to have like a really set schedule at the moment, at the very least. And it's going to be sort of more whenever I fancy playing, and whenever we try and get like a really decent game going. Hopefully we can showcase that. And the next one hopefully will be a large-scale Silmarillion battle with the new public build that has released that includes the Philathrum and the Easterlings in it. So that should be quite fun indeed. But yeah, I will also be, for the time being, doing it sort of multiplayer only. And also I'll be doing it only with other people in the chat with me. So next up we will be doing, obviously the next stream that we do with JMonster, it will hopefully be myself and him in the chat, because it keeps it easier to keep things going, I think, in a stream when you've got someone else to talk to. Possibly we can get other individuals in on that as well over the course of the next weeks and months, including Windy and obviously Scouts. So we'll see how that goes though, because it is something that I have been meaning to do for a while. You know, it's the sort of thing that I haven't felt all that confident in setting up. But now it is set up, the hard bit has been done essentially, and now it's a case of whenever I want to stream, we just effectively click a button and we're good to go. So yeah, that for the time being it will be multiplayer stuff with other people in the voice chat with me, so we can sort of get some interaction going there. There's still some rough edges to iron out with streaming, like the fact that I only have a single screen, and the fact that obviously alt-tabbing in Medieval 2 to actually look at the chat is fairly awkward at best. So yeah, it's especially with the graphical enhancements that I use. So yeah, that's obviously something that we can work on over the next while, and keep polishing the experience there. Eventually, however, there's no reason why now Total War campaigns can start to creep in, because as I've said in the past before, the reason why I haven't really sunk my teeth into campaigns in Total War is the fact that long form content like that on YouTube doesn't really work, but it works much better in a stream, and that's a potential doorway that has been opened, although I wouldn't bet on like campaign or single player stuff happening before August, I would say, because for the time being I just want to keep it multiplayer, sort of experiment with a few things and do it that way. And you know, for the time being, tentatively one stream every 10 days or so may be the way to look at it. I don't want to sort of go mental with live streaming for the time being. I just want to keep it as an additional thing onto the content that I already do, because of course the time that I spend streaming would be the time that I would otherwise spend recording and rendering a sort of standard YouTube video, which is where I get, obviously that's where I've made my channel up till now. So that's the thing. Streaming is now something that will happen on the channel every now and then. So it is, you know, it's interesting, isn't it? Like the definitely a changeable climate that we're in at the moment, and I feel as though that's the key to things at the moment. I feel as though rolling with the punches is the best way to go about things, considering the unpredictability of things at the moment, which is one of the reasons why I've always been quite reluctant to nail down like a really rigid schedule, because things can change so quickly. But yeah, I feel as though it's kind of mixed news in this video with regards to the channel. Obviously in the future things will have to change as as my life enters a new post-university phase, or at least the possibility of a PhD I suppose is still there. I have briefly spoken with my project supervisor about it. That would obviously change things considerably again, which is one of the reasons why you take everything with a pinch of salt in this video, is basically what I'm saying. I have enough information to give out and give people an idea of what is very likely to happen, but it's also likely that by the time we're here in February I'm releasing another channel update video saying this, that or the other has happened and we're changing it in this way or that way. But it's just worth bearing in mind. So it's possible even that I can finish by September as well, but it's very unlikely, I would say. You know, I won't be able to do the work quickly enough by the time the boats are open, I don't think. And obviously the threat of a second wave is still also ever present. So yeah, that's ultimately the takeaways from this video. I will be staying on at university just a little bit longer than it otherwise looked like I was going to, so the channel can continue as it was for just that little bit longer. However, ultimately the inevitability of post-university life is going to be hitting, and that will impact the channel, albeit not to a crippling extent, I would say. It's more a sort of a slight scaling back of the amount of content that I'm able to do, but I'm able to make up for it in other ways, I think, with quality of content that I'm able to upload, and the addition of live streaming, which of course can happen up past February and up to February now that I've got it all set up. So yeah, I hope you found this somewhat informative as to where the channel's going to be going, both in the short term and in the slightly longer term. Obviously, again, all of this is very much subject to change, like I said, because who knows what's going to happen next. But I have everything set up reasonably to where I can adapt, I think, more or less as and when needed. I think also looking forward, I think that a new PC is going to be necessary for me on the horizon, but it's the sort of thing that can wait until after I'm done in February. I think like my PC will last me until then. Certainly for my purposes, I think with Medieval 2 being a game as old as it is, the PC issue is not really going to come into too much effect. But yeah, that's really the upshot. So another thing that maybe I can look at doing once I get some employment and some good salary under my belt. That's the hope anyway. But yeah, I hope you found this informative. Like I said, the channel has been something for me that has exceeded my expectations in pretty much every way, and continues to do so. And I hope that I'm able to keep this going, because it is something that I do take pride in, and also I like to think that my presence is at least somewhat useful for publicising the hard work that people put in to Third Age Reforged and Silmarillion and sort of other things as well. Like, I do feel as though these mods that people make on their free time, basically just, you know, for no real reward other than the satisfaction of seeing it used, I really do feel as though I hope anyway that the amount of attention that I've been able to bring to it has been worthwhile for the various mod makers, because they have put a lot of hard work into this, and they definitely deserve all the attention that they can get, and anything that I can give them in that regard is definitely important to me. So yeah, next up, past this channel update, the next video that I'm actually going to record, I think, it's been a while since we've been there, but I think we're going to make a return to Minas Tirith, so I'm going to have to mentally prepare myself for that one, because that one is almost certainly going to be a gargantuan replay, as the ones on Minas Tirith often are. But also streaming, and also a few other replays that I've got. I've got a Moria one, but that one probably won't be until like a fortnight's time. I definitely don't want to record Minas Tirith and Moria back to back. That would finish me off, I think. But yeah, I have a few things that I can get on with. So replays will be flowing as they have been. Streaming will be added in here and there to add a little bit of variety. And yeah, in the longer term, we have a vague plan as to what we're going to do. So yeah, I hope you will join me for whatever is next.